We should be just about live here Tuesday at 7. I think we're a couple minutes. Let's make sure that we're on live. If there's any problems, if you guys are hearing and you hear a buzz or can hear our voices, we'll make sure we speak up, let us know. And we are really excited today to interview some creatives in, what do you call it, a theatrical horror show host.
Yeah,
You could say that.
Homegrown horror hosts.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We're horror film hosts that are carrying on a tradition that is very... Cleveland
It's
has...
steeped deep in Northeast Ohio.
Yes. 50 years of horror hosting in Northeastern Ohio. So we're trying to carry that torch and keep it going.
So I'm going to start off with a really heated question.
Ooh.
Right? Especially to ask a husband and wife?
Yes, we are.
Husband and wife couple.
We are married.
Husband and wife couple.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the same question. Who is your favorite horror show host?
Who is my favorite?
Your favorite horror show
down.
host.
That's a tough one.
That's really tough to pick just one.
Well, I can't say they're all like my kids because that doesn't make any sense. Like I love them all, so that's weird. Boy, I'll let you want to go first. Do you have a favorite on it?
Well, I think because I have memories of watching them as a kid with my little brother and my mom and my stepdad was Big Chuck and Little John, you know, and they were home, you know, local boys. So I think I have to say them if I had to pick only one show.
Yep, and I have to agree pretty much. But I go back like a little bit of a half a generation before that with Houlihan and Big Chuck because that's who Chuck hosted the Friday night show on CBS on WJW, which was an affiliate of CBS. Back in the day, it was the weatherman Houlihan and Big Chuck. They did the late night 11:30 monster feature show. And then in 1980, he did it from like 67, I believe, to 1980. Then Little John Rinaldi came on, and that's when you'd be watching him like 4 or 5 years later.
And Houlihan used to be the weatherman.
Yes, he was a weatherman.
So he was Houlihan the weatherman before he became
Houlihan the horror host.
Houlihan the movie host, yeah.
So I would imagine there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to have their own opinions. There's folks that are, I mean, we're from the Northeast Ohio, the Cleveland area, and so we're hearing the local folks, right?
Right, but...
If you want to want to do categories like local and then maybe a national horror host, who's your favorite? Because that's...
Oh, a national horror host?
That everybody would know, yeah. Might know, because of syndication.
If I had to pick one nationally out of all of them, I'd probably have to pick Zachary. Because... He passed away just a few years ago, but he's pretty much stayed, he was his character all those years and would still go to conventions and make appearances. And
he was out of the New York, New Jersey area up there.
Yeah, and he would go to Chiller Theater. Unfortunately, we never got to meet Zachary, but he's just, yeah, his character and his whole, I think he was in character all the time. He just seemed like he never was out of that personality, you know.
Wow.
So, and that's what was so unique about him.
Yeah, mine would have to be Mystery Science Theater 3000. I definitely watched that the most. I mean, I literally probably watch 3 or 4 episodes every day, and not even kidding around. Like I just have it on the background when I'm doing my work or whatever. And but yeah, I just love the riffing. I mean, it's just a show that's just, and I'm always laughing. I always hear something I missed the first 100 times. I watch the same episode, so
they are good. Yeah,
it's interesting. I still follow them with their riff tracks ventures and the other stuff that they're doing, and the revival that they had for Mystery Science Theater. But everyone, if you usually throw that one out, everyone knows those movie hosts. So.
And Beth, I know that you're probably arming that camera. You see people signing on. For those folks that want to shoot out questions, we are anxious to hear those.
Barb Miller wants to know if anybody remembers Chili Billy from Pittsburgh.
Yes, and actually when we go to Monster Bash in Mars, Pennsylvania, we would, to explain what we do, we would always ask, hey, if you remember, or say, hey, if you remember Chili Billy, then you might like our videos.
Oh, there you go.
Because a lot of people would ask, "Oh, are you guys hosting movies like Chili Billy?" We're like, "Yeah."
Very
I was
nice.
trying to. I mean, I don't know if any people have a point of reference on what we, but there's our characters right there, pretty much on this T-shirt.
There they are.
And you know, I don't know. A lot of this is going to be like people are gonna be like, "What are they talking about?" There's no
Do we
monkey
have
there.
those
I mean,
magazines?
the guy
to
looks pretty
show?
funny, but doesn't look like a monkey. Well, we actually have we're not in character right now.
Yeah,
but
we're
when
out
we
of
do
character today.
We do the show, right? What were you gonna ask?
Oh, maybe we could show them one of those magazines.
You can go grab one. You know where they are? They're upstairs. Yeah.
In our room?
Yeah. Forget about it. We weren't prepared.
Or what you could do is run up and we can draw.
I can do that.
Draw this. You
I
want
know
to give
exactly
that a
where
try?
they
All right. So
Okay, so you know where they are?
I'll go look.
All right.
So for those folks that are joining now, you remember that each week we encourage shares, and anybody who shares the Tuesday at 7 videos to groups, to their own friends list, or you could even snipe it out to folks that particularly may be receptive to it. Anyways, we place their names in the hat, and I know that the Mummy and the Monkey also do similar things,
do.
and Janet's
Yeah, her mummy bucket.
bucket
That's
is,
right.
is one that they pull from.
Love it.
We're pulling today from just a regular hat, but we're giving away and actually I'm going to read it out because I certainly want to make sure that we give credit. So Judy Keene, a few weeks ago, is a stained glass artist, and she created this clear bevel Celtic shamrock with hollow detail, and it's using the copper foil method.
Ooh,
So
nice.
if you could see that, and you won't, except for the winner will be able to display this, and it is signed by Judy as well. So we're going to start off this one just by giving this away. So
Cool.
You do the honors.
Oh,
Go
me?
ahead.
Do the
Oh,
honors.
okay.
Mm.
Lucky mummy pull.
Let's see. Who could it be? Who could it be? All right. Here's
You got a
name.
winner. That's the winner right there.
Got a winner.
Jane Shedrin.
Well,
Jane Shedrin.
thank you and congratulations,
Congrats.
Jane. What we'll do is
Yay.
please send us a private message, or we'll reach out to you to get your address, and we'll get that out right away.
Yep.
But as a reminder for anybody who you ever see like talk show hosts, you just kind of throw things.
Yeah.
Maybe there's reason for that. But if anybody shares this video, in a couple weeks we'll give away a
Mummy, an official Mummy the Monkey T-shirt, like Janet's wearing right here.
Ta-da.
Almost looking like Jim Glory mode. And you can kind of show them. Maybe that picture's a little bit better. The pictures in here are pretty dark. We were interviewed. What was it, last year?
Yeah, we were interviewed last year by Pressure Life magazine here in Cleveland, Ohio.
There, go up a little.
And
Show the magazine
they
cover.
did a nice interview, took some nice photos. So that's what we look like in character.
Woo.
And the name of the article is The Monsters at Midnight.
That's right. Show them the cover.
And yeah,
Kind of the
there's
same picture.
there's that. But you can find us on, we are on Facebook. We are The Mummy and the Monkey on Facebook. So you can give the page a like and follow us. And our next live streaming show will be October 18th.
Here I am also in cup form.
Ooh.
Yeah, an artist friend of ours sculpted these up for us. Mummy the Monkey mug. So we have fans and stuff that send us cool things like this artwork. We got a lot of fan art.
Mm-hmm.
Here's that Tony
Here.
Butler piece behind you. Dome piece.
Oh, this thing, yeah.
Yeah.
He took
Oh, yeah.
Funko Pops and then modified them.
Oh my
There's a light
gosh.
in
And then does the light go on?
Should be. We haven't ran in a while, so battery should work.
There
There we
we
go.
go.
that is
Ta-da.
awesome.
So that's kind of fun,
So yeah, we love our fans, and we do prize giveaways too.
But we're not
And-
giving this away.
No, this one we're keeping.
So as you look back and you shared with us kind of your favorite horror show hosts,
Mhm.
where's the inspiration? Where did the Mummy and the Monkey, where was that birthed? The idea, the creative, and
Well, it was.
Well, Roger, let me tell you now.
We met on the set of a public access cable show that we were both volunteering for
Back in 2013.
back in 2013, and it was called The Daughter of the Ghoul. And here in Cleveland, we had Ghoularty, we had the Ghoul, we have Son of Ghoul in Akron, Ohio,
Superhost.
Superhost, and all that. But there was a gentleman named Daniel Christancic who put together a show called The Daughter of the Ghoul. So he ran it for 1 year on at the time it was Time Warner Cable in Cleveland, Channel 20. And you helped with skits and behind the scenes and with the graphics, and I helped host it. And it was a lot of fun, and that's how we met and started out as friends. And now
we're married somehow.
Now we're married doing the show. And
go ahead.
After The Daughter of the Ghoul was canceled in 2014, we still wanted to make videos and learn how to video edit and piece things together, and we still wanted to do something with our characters because we each had our own original characters.
Yep.
And we both make our own costumes. I do my own makeup. So it was October of 2014, so it was 5 years ago. We were both dressed up, passing out candy at a kids event in Medina, because I used to live down there, and the kids were yelling, "Mummy, monkey!" And we have it on video somewhere in our archives. And later that day, I'm like, that's our show name.
Because there's no way we could have thought of that on our own. No way. But yeah.
Well, we were wondering, like, what should we call it?
Right,
and maybe we were just overthinking it, and the kids kind of clarified it for us.
That cemented it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I would, at a very freshman level, I might describe your show as a fusion of horror, comedy, theatrics, persona. Like what am I mean? Those, that's kind of, scraping over the top. How would you describe what you do?
Well, we've been told that it's.
Okay, sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I want you to. I think you were going to.
Well, we've had people say that they think it's a cross between Pee-wee's Playhouse and Elvira. But you go on.
But on a local level, I mean, our show is done. It's like definitely like an amalgamation of all these different shows that we just talked about that we grew up locally watching, and then later on, with stuff like Mystery Science Theater and Elvira, that came in through syndicated television, inspired us to. So it's really a mashup of all of or a monster mashup, if you will, of all these influences, and purposely done. It's not there's no ripping off of anything. These are, if we do something do a skit based on and not totally ripped off of a character from, like, say, the Big Chuck and Little John show. It's an homage to it, and not necessarily direct rip off.
Right. Many shows and characters and things have inspired us.
Yeah.
But we always wanted to have our own twist on it and make it our own work.
And we level it off too by creating our own sort of characters, because we do skits as well. On our show, we host a show as the Mummy and the Monkey in front of this set here on Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook. I cut up a B monster movie, add sound effects in it, a la The Ghoul, a la Ghoulardi, a la a lot of other horror hosts that were doing this back in the day. And we cut it up about 4 or 5 segments, or farts as we call them, not parts, but 4 farts of the movie, suggested by a viewer of ours. I would call them farts, but
because he puts lots of farts in the movie.
Well, that and the
and some of the movies stink.
Usually they stink pretty well. And I'll even when we come into each segment of the movie or fart of the movie, I'll add a fart sound effect and a puff of smoke, as it goes into the actual segment of the movie. But we cut that up in about 4 or 5 parts, and then about 15 minutes each, 12 to 15 minute segments, and then in between that we'll come back and we'll show like a skit that we shot based on one of our characters we created, or something, kind of, in tribute to some other horror.
Or sometimes we go to conventions and we'll get interview footage with a filmmaker or artist. So then we might cut that in between too.
We've interviewed like Lloyd Kaufman, the guy that does Trauma films.
Lloyd Kaufman, John Dugan from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
He played Grandpa in the original movie.
Rhonda from...
Tons of interviews with people.
Is that I Drink Your Blood? We interviewed her.
Lots of people, but
so
anyway, so we inject all that kind of stuff in our show. So it's this like variety type of horror show where you have, and it just mirrors a bunch of other stuff that we watched growing up as well. So it's just a bunch, it's all put together that way, and so that's how we describe it. It's like a monster mashup of different horror host shows, and then our own sort of offering.
Yeah, that's awesome.
On top.
Yeah, so take us. We're going to go back even further in our youth to say, okay, so there was something, or there were things that you realized in those early days. Maybe it was elementary school, maybe it was pre-elementary school, that you were like, yeah, we're creative people. We're theatrical, comic, creative. Take us back maybe Yeah, to take us back to those early creative days. You probably wouldn't have said I'll be doing a horror show host online. Obviously,
No, I never imagined doing that, but I always wanted to get involved with something creative. I loved drawing and painting and sewing as a kid. I used to make little outfits for my dolls. And I loved ancient Egyptian, like the culture, the mythology. I would take books out. I was such a dork. I would take books out from the library and read about the mummification process and think, oh, that's cool.
Don't try this at home.
You know, watch the classic monster movies on AMC around Halloween time, and you know, and then you get the scary movies out from Blockbuster in the '90s as a kid, and yeah, there were a lot of, especially now that with all the mummy stuff I do, it was like, yeah, my inner 12-year-old would think that's cool.
What was it? The kind of the costuming? Was that the?
Yeah, well,
About
it's
the zombie walk.
the zombie walk.
Yeah, I
oh.
think that's how the character was born, and it just sort of, because it was her
good
character
point.
was created not for horror hosting or any kind of theatrical thing like she's doing now at all. It was
So I started going to, because there's different cities that would host charity zombie walks for this, you know, for maybe Harvest for Hunger or some other group. But everyone's dressed up like a zombie, and I kept thinking, well, what could I do that's a little bit different but still undead? Okay, mummy. So I'm like, okay, well, how can I make this? You know, and you cut up some old sheets or old white T-shirts and
pull your brain through your nose and
yeah,
disembowel. No, you don't.
you stain them with coffee
Don't do
and
that.
tea,
Don't go that far.
and you get out your sewing machine and try to make something. And you know, so 2010 is when I first made my mummy costume, and she's evolved a little bit each year. And now I've got like a whole mummy wardrobe of different things I can wear and different hairdos and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
James, what about you? Like those early flickers of creativity?
Well, I'm 50, so it's hard to remember everything. No, I was obsessed with horror host shows, the local ones at the time, the Ghoul in the early 70s, Houlihan and Big Chuck, obsessed. To the point that I would build, and I still have some, they're not that interesting, but I used to build my own little sets. I used to take the cardboard from the back of a drawing tablet, or, you know, the old sheets that you'd rip off, and I would get 3 of those, tape them together to make like this 3 sort of paneled set, I called it. And I would just glue, like do a collage of different like from old monster magazines and comics, and just kind of, because that's how they looked. The guys like the Ghoul and Big Chuck and Little John or Houlihan and Big Chuck, they would do this. They would basically take old monster movie posters or drawings people would send in and just randomly collage the backdrop, and that's what I thought. That's what you do as a horror, you know. And I of course wanted to do it as a kid. I wanted to be a horror host.
Yeah, especially the Ghoul. It looked like he just had a bunch of stuff glued on the wall, and
just
then
like stuff
even had a
everywhere.
toilet in the background.
Yeah, but it was a prop that he would use to the show. But yeah, so I mean, I loved what they did. I even, you know, I'm an artist as well too. I grew up reading comic books and watching cartoons, and I would draw my own little comics of Big Chuck and Little John and Houlihan and Big Chuck, and just I didn't think I wanted to be a horror host at the time, but I loved what they did and I thought about it every now and then. It would be cool. I would even send drawings into Big Chuck and Little John, and they would show them and say my name. I've got a couple on videotape from the mid-'80s that are kind of neat to see still.
Well, and later on you designed a backdrop for Big Chuck and Little John.
It's a little more. It's a little more hard to explain, but real quick to finish up the thing about wanting to do this. So with the advent of home video with VHS, you know, recorders and camcorders in the early 90s, I thought, hey, I can do this. I can do my own thing just for fun. And so that's what I did. I created a character, Grim Gory. I had that. You ever see the movie Chaplin?
No.
With Robert Downey Jr.?
No.
There's a really cool scene in that, and I love what they did in this because I think a lot of creative people have these moments. And they illustrated it by having Chaplin come to America, and they're like, go in this tent and pick out a costume. And we got 10 seconds before we have to go shoot this film, right? He comes to America. And he goes in this tent full of props. And he looks at this little container that has a bunch of canes and stuff. And he looks at it, and one of the canes glows. Not for real, but in his mind, that's the thing. And the derby, the same thing. So that's the tramp costume, the character he created. Yeah. Walked into a thrift store in the mid 90s, and I saw this plastic monkey mask with a hinged jaw. It was the cheapest looking thing, you know, no hair on it or anything. And I didn't even see Chaplin at the time, but I understood when I saw the movie what they're talking about.
Where sometimes an item will speak to you.
Yeah, it inspires you to say, you're like, that thing. So I got it, and I created, I glued some hair on it, and I created a character, Grim Gory, and I just kind of pulled the name out of my backside, and just had at it, and just made my own little horror shows just for fun, because I could. And then later on, when cable access was a thing, I sent a few shows in. I lived in Rhode Island for a few years, chasing my career, and I sent a few episodes of the Grim Gory show back then in the early 2000s to them, and they aired. It was kind of fun. Got couple emails, 1 or 2 emails, had at least 1 or 2 people watching, and then it was like so I had this character for years, and just kind of fun. I would draw a lot of stuff, make up stuff if I ever did anything with it, but then things evolved, if you like, even more with streaming and the internet, and being able to do what you want to do, pretty much, with a camera and a Wi-Fi signal, or a streaming signal. So
yeah. So the mask, you didn't really choose the mask. The mask chose you.
Yeah.
In kind of a way, right?
Because people ask us that too. Why am Mummy the Monkey? Like most people, like you said, what Elvira and Vampira.
Yes, a lot of times when
just say what you said about the black dress.
Well, Vampira, Elvira, Morticia, they've already perfected the little black dress.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've already done it. So I can't really do much more with it. So I had to do something different.
Yeah, well, even though that wasn't what you thought initially, it just kind of worked out that way too.
Yeah.
But you're right about that, and that point being is that there seems to be like sometimes when people want to get into doing a horror host show, they think there's a template that exists that you use already, and there's really not. It could be, why not a werewolf? Why not a mummy? Well, why always like a black dress or a black coat and a black hat? Sven Gulli is a guy out of Chicago, and he does the black top hat.
Yeah, there's already hosts that have perfected the top hat look. It's it's good to do something different or
there's
creative.
So many monsters.
Whether you're a host or a movie reviewer.
And what's interesting too, though, if you think about it, we both pointed out that Big Chuck and Little John and Houlihan and Big Chuck were our favorite movie hosts, but they didn't even dress up.
They never even wore costumes.
No, they were just personalities.
They were just themselves, but they did what I love is they've put together a ton of skits. They were really creative with the skits.
Yeah.
And they would throw different costumes together. Little John would wear dresses and dress like a lady sometimes.
With a mustache.
He would keep the mustache.
But yeah, so and their attitude towards entertaining was one that we try to recreate when we do our skits, all on purpose. Because look, they did stuff quickly, and it was just to get it out. They didn't worry about detail and props. When they could, they would, but when they didn't, it was just, let's get something out. We do the same thing. We just try to emulate that, because I thought that was kind of neat. And when I would watch it as a kid, it would make me think, hey, I can do that. It was different than watching a Hollywood movie where you're like, whew,
where it's like, oh no, how did they do that?
What's
effect?
a budget?
Yeah.
And when you're watching these things, hey, you're like, hey, that workout table is just a folding table he's sitting on. And he just taped some rope to the wall and he's pretending to work out. I could do that. I could film that, or I could create that and do my own skits and shows. So
So yeah, you can still have it low budget and cheesy and still be entertaining.
Well, and ours, I think, would suffer from it if it were any higher production values. I'm digging the bad green screen and the
Yeah, I couldn't imagine it in 4K.
Well, the mummy and the monkey roll well off the tongue. I mean, it works, and it's kind of funny that these two personas, characters were separate, and you just brought them together. Right?
That is true. Yeah, I had my character since the mid '90s, and you had yours in 2009.
2010. Yeah.
So I didn't know her then at all.
But I didn't know I'd be using it to host something later. I just thought, oh, it's something I could wear for the zombie walks, and it evolved from that.
Yeah, because actually when they wanted her to do, I even have notes somewhere, because when I was working with the fellow that had the Daughter of the Ghoul show, not many people know too much about this, but they wanted you to come up with a different character, like Ghoulita or the Ghoul Girl or something like that.
There was already a Ghoulita in the 1960s.
Ghoulina or something they were trying to call you, or
there's already a Ghoulina.
I know, but he didn't care. Look, he didn't
but
care about any
he
of
was
that.
like, well, maybe you could do like a ghoul character, and I was thinking about it, and I had some little sketches and so maybe an idea, but I'm like, no, I'll just go with the mummy character. So Yeah, we named her Janet Decay, and it was the Daughter of the Ghoul show hosted by Janet Decay, Cleveland's Yummy Mummy.
Because that was always supposed to be just an umbrella name for the show, and then like the Tonight Show hosted by Johnny Carson, hosted by.
Yeah, because
Jay
you
Leno.
even hosted an episode as a different character.
As a totally different character,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So remember, for those folks who share, in a couple weeks after you share, we're going to be giving away the Mummy and the Monkey.
The Mummy, we're giving her away.
The Mummy! No, she can't go away. Then we won't be able to watch every.
That's
That's
for
right.
sure.
We have to find new co-hosts.
Yeah.
That's not gonna be.
The Mummy and the Monkey, again, it is. I mean, you could go back and check out the other episodes, right?
Yes,
By going to Facebook.
explain the Facebook setup, how that all works out.
Yeah,
there for
so
the
we
folks.
have 59 episodes in the archives on our Facebook page, The Mummy and the Monkey. But we do go live on most Friday nights, where you can tune in at 10 p.m. Eastern and you can watch a movie. We host our skits. We have some banter back and forth. We often do prize giveaways.
Mhm.
And yeah, everything's archived. So if you click on the little videos tab, you could go back and watch our old episodes.
And each episode's about 2 hours long. It has a B movie, you know, a B monster horror movie like Attack of the Giant Leeches, or you know, My Grandmother Was a Werewolf, or something like that. And but this weekend we're going to be at Cinema Wasteland. I just happen to have this.
there you go. Cinema
So
Wasteland.
we won't be on live for our 2-hour show this Friday, because the following Friday we're going to be at
Ghoulardi Fest.
Ghoulardi Fest.
Is there a Ghoulardi poster over there?
I rolled them up.
Or
I
was
think.
it put away?
I think I put them
Oh,
away.
okay.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, Ghoulardi Fest is next weekend, Cinema Wasteland this weekend. So
Yeah.
2 shows back to back. But we will return October 18th.
So you can come see us out there at
Or you could come see us at the conventions.
cinemawasteland.com
Yeah.
or ghoulardyfest.com. You can find out about what's going on there all 3 days, next couple of weekends. But then we return the 18th, right? October 18th.
October 18th.
Live
Yep.
with a brand new show. So with footage from those events, hopefully, and, you know, talk about what we did here today. You know?
Now, is it going to be strange for your viewers to watch you folks out of makeup? Is it?
Probably a little bit.
Probably, and we feel weird being out of costume. I feel out of my element. Yeah.
You're a little bit, you know, you're still kind of you-ish, sort of. You just kind of put a headband on you and an eyeball thing. But me, I have to transform into a simian with opposable thumbs. Thank God I know how to use those still.
Sometimes we'll put a behind-the-scenes video on our YouTube channel where we're out of character, but we try to keep it separate from the Facebook show.
And we do a vlog every now and then, or we don't call it like a what do they call it now?
Like a podcast?
Podcast, yeah. One of those, what do they call that thing? Those kids are calling it the podcast. We do a podcast. I remember these called vlogs, right? The video blog. Now it's a podcast.
Yeah.
Before a podcast used to just be audio. See, that's where the confusion
Now
is.
it's audio
I
and
go
video.
that far back. Yes.
Back in my
It's
day.
so weird. So yeah, we do a podcast from time to time called Living the Scream.
Behind the scenes of The Mummy and the Monkey.
And we're like this, and we'll be in our living room or something and talk about behind the scenes of our show and what we did that week. And then we'll show, and then we also do reselling online
Yes.
on eBay.
So we have eBay
And-
stores, and we go to yard sales, estate sales, flea markets, and look for cool stuff to keep and to sell.
And I wish I had it handy, but and then that happens.
The bat was attacking you.
Yes. But one of the biggest horror hosts in Cleveland, the biggest horror host in Cleveland, was a fellow named Ghoulardi.
You might
And,
want to
yeah,
get
Bring
close.
us close.
Yeah.
We got people all over the world watching.
People all over the
Yeah.
world.
Let me see.
Yeah, I got a better thing. I can hold up.
That is fabulous.
That's a cup.
That's a real- Yeah, from Manners Big Boy in the
Yeah.
60s.
Now that I paid for. I wasn't around when that came out, but
That's so cool.
yeah, he was out from 1963 to 1966 in Cleveland, Ohio. He went off. He left Cleveland to hang out with a guy named Tim Conway. You know, you probably heard of him.
Certainly.
And they were buddies in Cleveland. They did stuff in Cleveland on Cleveland TV. And Ernie was actually from Philadelphia. Ernie Anderson was the guy who played Ghoulardi.
But he was hired by Channel 8 to...
He did stuff before that, but in Cleveland, okay, so if you go into the horror host history stuff, in California, Vampira was the first sort of real horror
Well, the
host.
first horror hosts that are recognized by most of the fans, Vampira and Zachary started around the same time.
So you got California.
So
and
around
New York.
like 1955, 1957, around that time frame, Screen Gems, back in the day when TV was still new and experimental, kind of like how when the internet was the wild, wild west, they would, Screen Gems would sell these film packages to all these different stations nationwide and encouraged
Oh, they're classic horror movies, and they're horror movies.
They were classic horror films. They had like a creature features package, stuff like that. You know, vampire movies, monster movies. Yeah, there you go.
Laura,
Yeah. And they would encourage someone that worked for the TV station to host the movie, to dress in character and host the movies to make them maybe less scary or to help people get through watching the movie.
Because those movies that are like looked at as cheesy now were actually a little bit, some could be a little bit scary.
In the 50s, some people still considered them scary.
And they thought it would soften the blow a little bit if they had some sort of a schlocky horror host come up, or which horror hosting. There's a great, if you haven't seen it yet, or you haven't heard about it, there's a great documentary called American Scary.
Ooh, that is a good one.
It's a brilliant documentary about the history of horror hosts, and they focus a lot on Cleveland too. Because this fellow Ghoulardi, Ernie Anderson, I was saying Cleveland, they tried a horror host in 1958 named the Mad Daddy. He was a huge, radio guy.
Yeah, he was more popular as a radio DJ, and he hosted movies for a little while, but it just
less than a year.
And it just didn't catch on.
It didn't take. It wasn't until 1963 when Ghoulardi came, when this guy Ernie Anderson came up with the Ghoulardi character, that it was like wildfire. I mean, for 3 years, this guy ruled TV in Cleveland. So much so, the story goes that the police would say the crime rate was lower on Friday nights because even the crooks would stay in to watch his show. I mean, he was really that popular. And this was a local restaurant. This was a cup called I drink a Manners Ghoulardi shake or whatever it was. But that's a cup of it. But anyway, I bring that up. Oh, let's finish up this.
Yeah. What do you?
He was on from 63 to 66 and left Cleveland to become a voice announcer for ABC. So he was the guy that would do Tonight on the Love Boat and then on 2020. You know, that was Ernie Anderson. So he thought this Ghoulardi thing was just sort of a little gig. They interviewed him years later, right before he passed away in 96. And he just thought the Ghoulardi thing was just, it's just a little thing I did.
It wasn't a big deal to him.
He made his fortune in Hollywood after he left Cleveland. But
it was a huge deal to the fans.
And for the past 20 years, they've been doing, every year they do a Ghoulardi Fest based on this character. And we're going back to our reselling thing. So a few weeks ago, we went out to a big flea market in Hartville.
Yeah.
And I got lucky, and I found an autograph of his in an old, we call it a scrapbook, some girl kept. And I'm going through it, and there's a little picture of him taped in there, and a little piece of paper taped in there that has Ghoulardi written on there from probably 64, 65 before he left. But that was, And
you scored it?
I scored it. I can't even sell that thing.
So we now have a Ghoulardi autograph in our possession.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Weird.
We never thought we'd find something like that.
Of all the people to find it.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, so I'm going to zig for just one question, and that is, we're watching this live on Facebook, but why do you guys stream live on Facebook? Why Facebook?
Well, we started streaming live on YouTube, and we love YouTube, but YouTube does have some flaws. The public domain films that we show, other YouTubers claim to own, where YouTubers can say, hey, I own that, and then you could get a copyright ding, or have your live stream feed just cut off completely.
Which applies to anything that's uploaded to Facebook. It doesn't have to just be
You mean
movies.
YouTube?
YouTube.
Yeah, because we have friends that are filmmakers where they uploaded trailers of their own content, and someone else claimed to own it, and it was their own original
And they
work.
get dinged for something for that, which is weird.
So that's why for our YouTube stuff, we usually just talk about behind the scenes, and we don't host a movie.
Right.
But for Facebook, they still allow us to show the public domain films, and we're happy they do.
Yes, it just seems to be a little more free now. I'm sure at some point they'll probably have some kind of algorithms like YouTube uses to weed out possible copyright infringement and things like that. But
well, with all the watch parties now, and people are sharing all kinds of videos.
But that's video that's okay, that's already approved by Facebook to do watch parties with.
Oh, I'm not sure how that works.
They have legitimate stuff that's already Facebook approved, like movies and things.
That goes watch party.
And you can actually sign up a watch party or create a watch party on Facebook and pick. I'm just saying, for example, I don't know if it's on there, but something like Animal House could be on there. You go, hey, I'm gonna watch Animal House on Facebook tonight. I'm gonna create a watch party. It's cool because it's a Facebook approved, or licensed. Somehow they got licensed. But there's stuff that's legit out there that you can have watch parties that aren't obscure or weird, offbeat, independent things. There's like stuff that's a good idea.
But for right now, we're hosting public domain horror films and then independent films where we had permission from the producer or director.
How far are people watching The Mummy and the Monkey? From how far?
From Osaka, Japan to Melbourne, Australia.
To Parma, Ohio.
To Parma, Ohio.
3 miles away.
This program goes
to maybe the neighbor down the street, you know?
Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah. We get people that watch all over, and we love it.
No, I should know this, but Facebook, do they have an analytics thing like Google does, or you can?
They do. They changed the settings now, but so it takes a little while to figure out. But I can go in and look to see like who's watching us from what cities and countries. And last week's episode is almost at 7,000 views.
Last week's episode was interesting because we usually get watchers that as we stream about maybe the record's been like for us like 100.
Well, like 130 was the highest, but a lot of people live.
Yes, live.
But a lot of people will go back and watch overnight after it's done.
And about a week after each episode, there's about 3,000 views. Right?
We get usually between 2,000 to 6,000 views, depending on what's going on or what movie.
But it takes a few weeks to actually accumulate those views.
Well,
but this last one
we had over 5,000 views in just like a day or two.
Yeah,
so it was awesome.
Was that the one with the freaky 50s health?
That was the one before. No,
which was awesome.
That,
by the way.
that one was scarier than any. Like those were horrifying.
I know why this last one was so well received. You're giving away pierogi magnets.
Maybe it was the
pierogi. Pierogi magnets.
The pierogi magnets.
We bribed them with pierogies.
Yeah, we just mentioned that you wanted people to share it, right?
When we were first starting that show last Friday, and I saw there were 80 people watching, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Can we get it to 100? Hey guys, share it with your friends. And then it just blew up. Like we had almost 200 viewers at one time, and it stayed pretty consistent from like anywhere between like 100 to like 150 shortly after.
Nice.
So
You were so excited. I wish I had that on film. That was good. Your reaction to that was amazing.
Yeah, it was cool. And then we had people saying that they were sharing it in the Svengoolie pages. And I'm sure Svengoolie was a little irked by that. But
well, someone was like sending up angry faces. No, I don't think it was.
Then there was one guy just putting up a bunch of mad faces.
Emojis are flying up all here. Who knows? But
we thought it was funny.
But yeah.
So back from Facebook, why you're doing Facebook Live views. So your persona, Mummy, Monkey, running different swim lanes, and then all of a sudden they come together. So the interplay is great. I mean, it's entertaining to watch. It's kind of the beauty and the beast, and the monkey is quick. Tell me about the process of getting into that character. So in other words, when you press live, are you on spot? Do you get in spot? Do you start early? Do you start to...
There's very little... I drink more. No. Look.
We've had people ask if we drink on the show, and sometimes we have a few. You know, everyone does.
We don't say what it is, and we don't.
Sometimes I'm drinking coffee to get through the night because I'm tired.
Like, that's what my issue is right now. That caffeine's really kicking in. I apologize. That's not like. But no, as far as getting into character, we just visited some friends in the neighborhood the other day, and we're sitting on the couch, dressed like we are now, kind of, sort of. And I'm just throwing little quips and digs in to our regular conversation. We were talking about probably politics or something, or God knows what. But I go boom, and I hear something. But this is the way I've always been, ever since I can remember.
He's always throwing out little jokes here and there, and kind of like quick-witted and
ADD, whatever. But whatever that is. But yeah, so, and our friend asked us, who watches our show too, a gentleman goes, are you always like this? Basically, so there's very little I do to get into character for
Well, you change the voice up a little bit.
Well, the voice is different.
And then you have to filter what we say.
It's still me. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Because it is, Facebook show.
We don't swear on the show.
We try not to swear at all. We try to keep it more like PG-13.
There's a lot of double and sometimes triple entendre.
Yeah, we will have little jokes here and there, and double entendres, triple entendres.
Whatever. How many entendres I can come up with it.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so we do things like that, and Grimm is basically me, but that talks like this, I don't know, and that's the one thing that I don't know why all horror hosts, including myself, when you're a horror host, you come up with these Bela Lugosi voice, why if you're a vampire or a monkey, hey everyone, it's Grim Gory. It's like it kind of more. I think I did more of a thing like this a little bit in the beginning, but I don't know. Now it's just got its own sort of timbre. But it's got a little bit of that weird Transylvanian, for whatever reason, horror host thing. I don't know.
But again, you like doing funny voices anyway. Like, you'll go around the house doing silly voices.
All the time.
All the time. And after a while, I'm like, stop it.
People think I do a mean Homer Simpson. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just a matter of just putting the mask on and then just talking like him. There's really no, it's basically me still.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask a few questions here, and I'm going to zig and zag a little bit. If nobody watched, would you still do it?
Is this kind of like if a tree falls in the woods, does anyone hear? Is it like one of those?
Kind of. In other words, is it?
I have an answer for that. I have an answer for that because I would say I would, because of the fact that you can very easily, as long as you're not breaking any sort of rules and guidelines, that are set up for community standards, and everyone understands that. Even if you're on TV, you have to do that type of thing. That's good, But for me, this is definitely, if you look around, and it's a creative outlet for a lot of things I like to do. Like I said, by trade and just who I am, I'm an illustrator, graphic designer, whatever you want to call it, an artist. So and I have an interest in music. And again, I've been obsessed with sound effects in movies ever since I was a kid. I still have cassette tapes, or I would tape off of television. I would just try to watch The Ghoul and just get those sound effects as
This was before, and that was before everyone had a VCR.
Yeah, I mean, I was just whatever way, by any means necessary, I was going to get this stuff. But Janet too. We created our own characters. We do everything on the show from soup.
We've had people say, "Oh,
you and your crew.
You and your crew."
No crew.
We're the crew.
The two-man crew.
Two-life crew.
Two dead crew.
Two dead crew.
Two undead crew. Yeah, it's just really Janet and I pretty much. When we
I think I would still. Yeah, I think I would still do it. I think I'd still dress up like a mummy and.
Because it's fun.
Or even just dress up as something and go to a Comic-Con or a convention just because I enjoy it. I think I would still do something like it, even if no one watched us.
Yeah, I don't even know how that could be possible too. I mean, people seem to be gravitating more and more to these shows that are less produced and less network ran, because that to me is a very interesting thing. I know these networks. I bet you these networks people are going insane. All the money they pump into these shows that some people might watch, and then they'll see this YouTuber gets 10 million views. That's a lot of eyes on something, and they're thinking about putting something on their product placement or some sort of product commercial. That's what's really all about. It's all about, making money. It's business stuff. So that's got to drive them nuts when they see YouTubers and other people uploading videos or doing videos that get millions and millions of views that they wish they can get with stuff that they put millions and millions of dollars into and don't get.
What's that one kid that just opens boxes
Ryan's
of toys?
Ryan's World.
Yeah, he gets millions of views.
$21 million they made last year for just opening up
and
stuff.
they started out with just opening boxes of toys.
Let's get the opening stuff. Come on, everybody. Grab a box of something.
Yeah, so
it's not that easzy, but who knows why that catches on. But
you never know. So So to the creatives that are watching, chair squeaky, sorry.
That might be my back.
Yeah, I mean, just give it a try. Give it a try.
Well, and Janet and I will have nights where we call them arts and crafts nights. We'll sit down, we'll put on a horror movie because we just can't get enough of them. And we'll grab out the sewing kits and the glue guns.
Yeah, sometimes we're touching up our costumes, mending things here and there.
So it's definitely a part of what we are and who we are either way. So I think we would still do it if only one person watched.
So tell us about the movies that you show, right? I mean, do they speak to you? What are some of the more unusual things? Beth was speaking. a couple weeks ago.
The hygiene tips.
Okay, so
those were amazing.
Yeah, tell us what you show and what draws you there.
I only wish that was some sort of a thing we started. I mean, Mystery Science Theater, they were notorious for showing those shorts, and then because sometimes our movies wouldn't be long enough, so they would. From the early days, they would do like either a serial segment from an old serial, like not the Rocketeer, whatever his name was,
Lone Ranger or something,
or whatever. They
The
show a segment that, and then sometimes these public
service announcements,
like the educational videos. Something that would be like in an elementary school in the 1950s, the teacher gets out the old projector and
hygiene and you know?
Yeah,
that type of thing, But I wish we could claim that we, dug these things up and and started showing them. But there are so many of them out there. There's what's called a Prelinger archive on
the educational films we did get from archive.org. I don't remember the name of it.
Prelinger or Prelinger, I don't know how you pronounce it.
But there's a ton of stuff archived like that. Some of it is too graphic to show. Some of it's too, so we kind of go through and try to choose things that we think would be the most entertaining. Yeah,
but we show those, but that's very far. But mostly we show.
Mostly it's like the classic horror films, the horror and sci-fi.
The classic public domain.
The public domain.
I wish we could show the original
movies
Dracula.
That are in the public domain have no copyright.
Attack of the Giant Leeches.
Yeah, like Attack of the Giant Leeches, The Brain That Wouldn't Die, Plan 9 from Outer Space,
that was a good
the original Night of the Living Dead.
Jesse James meets Frankenstein's daughter. I mean, these things.
But then sometimes we are lucky and we're able to show some independent films where they give us permission to screen it. Like we did play Monsters Crash the Pajama Party from Something Weird Video. We did air Revenge of the Spacemen once from
and that
Troma.
was a movie that you were in.
And that was a movie I starred in.
That was shot in Medina. But these movies are still valid because some of these movies were shown on the shows that we talked about that we watched growing up earlier. Houlihan and Big Chuck, and Little John the Ghoul. These were their caliber of movies mixed in with the cool Universal stuff and the classic monster stuff. Mm-hmm. They would also have the B-movie package as well where, you could be watching Attack of the Giant Leeches. And the reason why I put sound effects in these movies is because then it kind of makes it a little bit of a different watch because I've culled sound effects from all over movies, TV shows, real life situations, and try to create my own bank of sound effects and not the typical ones that everybody uses, or steal right from the Ghoul or right from whoever the classic stuff that people have been using. So some people go, well, I already saw Attack of the Giant Leeches. Yeah, but watch it because I put different sound effects in it. We do drop-ins. A big thing we do now. This is something that sort of you can tell the John Saxon story.
So this spring we played. So one week we played a movie that had John Saxon and he was like
Queen of Blood.
Queen of Blood. He was one of the bad guys, right?
He was a good guy.
He was the good guy in that one. But then
he was a bad guy in the one we played after
that. The following week we found some like 1980s
schlocky space sci-fi.
And I don't remember the name of it.
It's a weird.
But John Saxon was the bad guy in that one. So then after that we had the fans. The fans were asking, is John Saxon in this?
Yeah, we played Little Shop of Horrors, and they go, "Is John Saxon going to be in this?" We're like, what?
It was like they created like an inside joke. So now we have a Saxon search where you have to find
Spot John Saxon.
Yeah,
let us also point out.
So explain how John Saxon would get into the movies he normally wasn't in.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just take liberties with finding some images of him and just cropping his head out or whatever and putting him in, superimposing his face, and it's really, really super cheesy. There are no CGI. This is CGI-free stuff, folks.
Every expense was spared.
Yeah, every one of them. Yeah. I even feel like I owe myself some money. But yeah, it's just done really hack and really bad on purpose. So just because it makes it look funnier. But you don't know where. But he does show up in the movie at least once.
One time he was a spider monster.
Yeah, he put his head on a spider monster.
His head was on a spider monster.
He was a victim. Like he got hit in the head with a rock.
He got killed. Yeah.
There's stuff like that.
Was it the last movie we showed? Someone was looking at a note or a picture. And it was John Saxon in a swimsuit, and you even added a little winking.
I mean, I did like a little one-step animation wink in there, and then we put a little line on the paper that says "Bringing Saxon back," bringing sexy back, but because he's in the little speedo. But another point of differentiation of our show, I don't know if we're going to talk about this or we should mention, is that our show streams live. There are a lot of horror hosted shows out there, and we love all of them. But all of them are pretty much pre-taped. There's no real streaming live ones.
They might air their episodes live where people can comment still and watch.
Yep.
But
like the Monster Channel,
but the segments aren't all in real time live, and when it cuts back to us sitting here,
we're live, baby.
It's live, so whatever we say and do, it's there. Kind of like now how we're live.
Yes, exactly. Like so. Yeah. So we thought that's why we when we first started doing our show, the first 2 years, we did the whole scripted, tape everything, edit it, put the movie in, and that would take sometimes.
It would take a couple months sometimes to get one episode out.
Yeah, 1 hour and a half or 2 hour episode because there was no immediacy. We didn't have any deadlines. We did this for ourselves. Number one, to get ourselves, light the fire under our butts, and to do some, because that's how the internet is, and as you know this, to get something for some reason, it's a voracious beast, and if you're not doing something like on a schedule or all the time, people lose interest like that. They just
you have to constantly put stuff online to be like, hey, we're still here, we still exist.
Yeah, even if it's archived, doesn't matter. I already saw that one, or why would I want to go back and watch something that entertains me? Because it entertains you, but okay, we'll give you something fresh and new. It's like it's bread or something. But yeah, so we that's what we like about our show too, is that we do stream live when it's first aired, like must see TV.
Well, and this is thanks to our friend Dino from the Dino and Ted show, the Late Late Horror Show on YouTube. Almost 2 years ago, he recommended to us saying that we should do live videos in our as the Mummy and the Monkey, and it took a little while to get set up and to try to figure things out, but
it's just us two.
Yeah, and so we eventually did it, and we were happy we did, because we now get we get a lot of feedback, a lot of email, a lot of fan interaction, more than if we recorded something and sent it into a cable station. Yeah,
I mean, that's what we would do. We would put these episodes together, and then we'd have friends of ours that they could get us onto their cable access channel, channel 532 on some, buried in some, that, someone might see, and that's fine. I mean, I got nothing against it.
And not everyone has cable TV anymore. A lot of times it's people will just pay for their online streaming services.
But it is so cool now, and I don't say gratifying, because it's not like we're doing it because we love to do it, but it's really cool to have people say, looking forward to this Friday, got my this ready, can't wait to do this, so they're looking forward to these episodes, just like I look forward to Friday nights as a kid, know. So now we're supplying the entertainment, even if it's one person, but it's not just one person, many people watch it, which is great. They make a night of it.
And what's old can be cool again, back in the day, TV stations would have these late night movie hosts. This was before your Netflix, before your DVDs, your VHS, so now this is, we just brought it to streaming.
And a lot of the shows back in the 60s were all live. Ghoulardi's show was live on 11:30 Friday night.
Vampira was live.
Yeah,
I think Zachary too.
Was taped, but it was live when it broadcasted. So much so, one of the stories on Ghoulardi, which is interesting, is that he would go to a bar across the street from the station he would ever show. And he'd be watching the news, knocking a few back. And as he would say, having sandwiches, and he would see the TV go from the newscast to the stool he should be sitting on. Jumps up, runs down, runs across the street, putting on the phony beard and mustache, and he would just sit down. Hey, group, how you doing? Ghoulardi here. Hey, thought you. But he would. It was live. I mean, everyone was like, "Where's this guy at?" He would just push it to the last second, and just so.
When he saw the stool and the setup, it's like, oh, okay, it's
time for me. Yeah.
How funny.
So talking about live, anybody who wants to shoot us some questions, and what we'll do is those questions, because there's a slight delay, as we know, as those questions are coming through.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
What's as you're looking through and you're doing this for however long you're going to be doing it, what is the supply of public domain? I know there's a ton of B movies and independent movies out there.
Well, there's not enough though. Yeah, but that's you
hear
that come out of my mouth all the time.
Right, there's only so many films that are in the public domain. So sometimes horror hosts will repeat movies here and there. Sometimes they look to independent film, which is what we're trying to do more of. Some hosts that are still on TV, like Svengoolie, Midnight Mausoleum, they get film packages that the station provides. So it depends on the format too and what you can access.
I'm sure we'll adapt. That's definitely something that's on my mind. You know, I think about that. Janet hears it all the time. I'm like, we might run out of stuff because I'll say, hey, we'll show Attack of the Big Nose People, and she'll go, everyone shows that. I'm like, yeah, but we only have we have to show it. I mean, we're running out of the barrels. We're underneath the barrel.
I'm always scouring the barrel and looking into.
We'll have to show everything.
What's public domain that other people haven't played or what hasn't been seen in a while.
Right, and we could scout. That's
or
why
what
we
can
do.
yeah.
Sometimes that's what we do.
Sometimes that's why we do the short
short
educational films to take a break from the regular
movies. To kind of cut the product a little bit and kind of so to speak.
Well, the good news is there's a lot of filmmakers, independent filmmakers that have some great movies that watch as well, and so
there you go.
That's true.
That might be
well. And we did it because the last year December we did a thing. I came up with a name called In December, which we showed independent movies the whole month.
Smart.
A lot of people, some people were on board, the audience, and some were like, "Oh my god!" But I didn't see how they were any good or worse than some of these being, Jesse James Frankenstein's daughter. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I think maybe it's because it was they were all new movies people weren't familiar with. Sometimes people look at those cheesy old movies and they're like, "Oh, cool! I want to see that again."
So we tested
maybe it's
the waters.
A nostalgic thing.
Yeah, probably it is definitely part and parcel to the whole. The thing we're creating.
So if you play something new, you don't get not as some people might be like, oh, what's that?
But I didn't care because I had to know. I had to do hardcore science. I had to know. I had to make sure and look at the data.
Do you think their expectations, even though they're indies, do you think their expectations are higher on the production value and everything because it's being produced now as opposed to it's not black and white, and so when you play the indie stuff, they're like looking at it with different expectations. Even
more critical. Oh, this is gonna. Yeah, it's like we'll give it a chance. We pre-screened it. We think it's entertaining enough. You'll get it if you just watch it, stick with it. Yes, it's not 4K. Yes, it's not HD. It doesn't have the CGI from Weta and or Lucasfilm. It doesn't have all that, but it's entertaining.
But it's entertaining. Just a lot of those indie movies are just as entertaining as those classic horror films.
Because I have friends now that because I love.
And I prefer the cheesy practical effects.
And I love indie movies, and I have friends where I'll pop a movie in, and 5 minutes in, that reaction you're talking about, oh, this is it doesn't suck. It's not.
It's in color.
Yeah, it's in color. Can we be happy about that? Yeah, give it a chance. Yeah, it's filmed on a video camera, but I like that. I like the effort put into it, and that they actually came up with a product. It's not. As a friend of ours, Tom, quotes it, the 40% club. I belong to that. I get 40% of the things I want to get done. That's my, and he said it about himself. I'm like, that's the member I've been a part of the club. And I didn't know there was a name for it.
So for anyone to actually, from start to finish, put a movie out, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Whether it's, guy with handheld, at-home camera or 4K big budget studio. It's a lot of work regardless. So we do appreciate the indie people out there. And we've been in some indie movies here and there.
So for anybody who shares this video, we'll put your name in the drawing and we'll pull out a Mummy and the Monkey t-shirt.
That's right.
And 2 weeks from now, share it off to your groups. And as we kind of wind, Beth is signaling.
Wait, I have 2 questions and I can't see them. Wait a minute.
That's like what
yeah. Welcome to your 40s. Jerry Schmidt, can you remind everybody when you're on?
Oh, sure. We're on Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com / The Mummy and the Monkey. And
but we won't be on these next 2 weeks.
We won't be on the next 2 weeks because we are making appearances at conventions, but we will return Friday, October 18th.
Yep, with a fresh new.
And then we do have videos in our archive for people that want to binge watch or see what we're all about and see if they want to tune in.
And then Greg DeFibbo says, can Jim give us a Wilhelm scream?
I think that's kind of that's not as good as that, but I tried. If I remember my I'm trying to remember that Stormtrooper what it sounded like.
That's a good one, Greg. Thank you.
Yeah, I've never done that before. Thanks.
I like that.
Nothing like being live, right?
Yeah, that was good. See, I don't shy away from requests.
We interviewed Greg DeFibbo a few weeks ago. He was an effects mentor for me way back in the 90s doing face casts when I was first kind of stepping into that.
Oh, cool.
And we all share probably our enjoyment of these black and white classics and horror show hosts. Anything else becoming? Excuse me.
Caitlin, our daughter, wants to know what are some of your personal favorite indie horror films and what stood out about them?
I know some that are definitely not mine, but we won't go there. Indie horror films. Would you consider Ed Wood indie horror? Or is that? Yeah, he's too legit by now.
It was kind of indie. Hollywood shunned him.
Let's talk about maybe we can give some horror film stuff. Well, there's.
I love. Bloodwoods is good. Our friends over at Polestar Studios, John Rain, James Schultz, and their crew, they put together a vampire film a few years back called Bloodwoods, and I thought that was put together really nice. The vampire guy was like creepy cool, and it had a neat little plot twist in the movie. And then Trauma, they were like the king of indie movies. So yeah, I mean, Toxic Avenger, you know, those kind of movies are great.
Well, one of my favorites, and we showed it on our show, is there's a filmmaker in Wisconsin. His name is Michael Gale Butt, B-U-T-T.
Yes, Michael Butt.
And he made a movie that caught our attention called Vampire Ticks from Outer Space.
Yes.
It lived up to its name for me and then some. It was really, the ending, yeah, it wasn't the best. But Michael Butt, the pacing of the movie, and he plays the hero of the movie, which I love. I mean, because you have to see it to understand. But his weapon of choice is a BB gun, which I love. It's like the vampire ticks. This is like why I felt that he had me when they showed the tick effects. It's basically a surgical glove that's inflated, filled with red juice.
And they were painted gray or purple.
Yeah, they painted them a gray color. And there's a scene, and this is where I'm like, you gotta watch this movie, Janet, because the scene when they're in this like trailer home, sitting by this big picture window, trying to figure out what to do. Someone's obviously lobbing these things up, and if they're hitting the window, they're just bouncing off the window. What are we gonna do? And they're just like these gloves bouncing off of the window behind them. And apparently, someone's just throwing them at the window.
But it had that Ed Wood kind of feel about that movie, and that's why we loved it so much, and it was enjoyable. And he did we did host that movie before.
Yes, we did. And
actually, I think we hosted it twice.
Yeah, he's got a couple other ones. I've seen just about all the stuff he's done, and it's again, but this one was the best one.
That was our favorite out of the movies he put out.
And he did a movie called Yetis, where he plays a Yeti. The suit's made out of cotton balls. It's the best. It's again, and when this creature makes its appearance, you're going, oh my god.
It made me think of the Downy Bear a little bit.
Yeah, like the Snuggle.
Or Snuggle Bear. Snuggie. Yeah, Snuggle.
Yeah, but big with fangs.
Yeah, wrong company.
But the stuff, it's just when you think you've seen it all, you know, he figured out. And I don't think he's doing it on purpose. He's just making a movie. You know, in his mind, he's doing this thing. He's gonna put it out, and you know, love it or hate it, he has a vision, and it really comes through because we've recently seen some movies that I've never seen shot this way before. I've never seen anyone shoot a movie, and I'll talk to you about this off camera. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but wow. Just when I thought things could get bad, they got way worse. They can get worse.
Last week, Ted Sikora at the end. So Ted Sikora is a graphic novel, comic writer, illustrator, filmmaker. But I asked him at the very end of his interview. I said, "So, what's a bit of advice that you would give to a creative?" And his response, one of his responses, and I thought it's something that stuck with me over the past few weeks. And he said, his recommendation is that you finish something. So if you're creative, start it and finish it, and don't stop halfway. Finish it, because the process of finishing is a learning tool, is a learning process. Do you folks, maybe?
I totally agree with them, because I've known people who maybe they start a film project, a couple of years go by, they never finish.
You were involved with a few of those films.
And I have been in films where, a whole summer I'm in this vampire movie and they never put the movie out. 10 years go by and they never see the footage. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you have ideas in your mind of how you want it to look, but get your project out there, and if it does have some flaws, you can learn from it and move on,
Any other bit of advice, like you could just say, this is
I'd have to say go with your gut and always push forward. Always try to, if it's something you're really passionate about, something you really love, to keep doing it. And yeah, sometimes you could be nervous. Oh, I don't know what people will think of my video or my painting or my costume, but keep going.
You know, we've had some interesting reactions to what we're doing as far as because we were very sincere doing what we do. And we had no idea that there might be some pushback from other people that have done it, let's say legitly, on television, on commercial television. Mm-hmm. And that's an interesting thing. We weren't ready for that reaction, that would be looked at as maybe less than, because I was kind of dressing up
we didn't
as
know
characters and sort of just wanting to entertain people.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
We didn't know that there was a horror host university
that we had to go to. We didn't have a diploma from. And
we were just kind of naive about it. We're just like, yeah, we're going to do this show, and
but sincerely naive that because look what we're doing.
And
it's not like we're
right.
Just,
But sometimes you might get some naysayers or people that get a little maybe overly critical or snooty, but. Nothing wrong with constructive criticism, with someone reviewing you and saying, hey, maybe you could try this or that.
And that's only fueled what we're doing too, actually. We kind of just turn it around. But as far as the creative process goes and doing things, that's why I brought that 40% club thing up, because totally aware of how that works. We really felt there was something to this, and we're happy that we pursued it, because we're finding out that there is. We're actually, like you said, everything old, it could be cool again. And
yes, we're trying to build the brand and build up the following and trying to actually do things with it.
It's like anything else that was in vogue or in fashion or was a trend or a fad. It worked once, so come up with a way to do it or repackage it if you can. I'm not saying that we're doing that, but we're trying to do something like that creatively, and finding it just like very natural. It's very organic what we do. The ideas sort of just write themselves. I mean, because no one's really done a lot of stuff with this for a long time. And we've been at Goulardi Fest and some other events where we showed some of the skits that we did, and people would clap, and we didn't even like woo, like a lot, where they would show other stuff and no one really reacted. We showed this, they got it. We hit some sort of nerve with them, and it really was. we were like, whoa, we didn't expect people to clap, but okay, great.
So we're grateful, we're thankful for the following that we have now, and we want it to grow, and we love our friends and fans out there, and you guys watching.
So pretty much now with the way technology is, you can do anything you want. That's good and bad, because people are doing anything they want. So it's a bigger, more competition, or just more to watch, I should say.
There's a ton of content out there, so always. It's good to try to do something creative or different that can make yours stand out. So whether it be reviewing a movie, or doing painting or sculpting or making monster masks.
Or me flinging poo.
Or you flinging poo on live on Facebook.
I could do it now.
Uh-oh. Oh no. Don't mess up her phone.
Don't worry. That's dry.
Well, we appreciate, first of all, removing the mask and stepping in front of our screen outside of your characters, for sharing kind of your creative journey, your inspirations, some pieces of advice and nice nuggets of advice to close up. Remember, for anybody who's watching, share. We're going to give away the Mummy and the Monkey t-shirt in 2 weeks. If you haven't already done so, click into their archive of work. It is fun, it is entertaining, and I'm sure that you guys enjoy that. Again, the next live is going to be on October
18th, Friday night.
But they'll also be at Cinema Wasteland and Goulardi Fest.
Cinema Wasteland this weekend at the Holiday Inn in Strongsville, Ohio, and then Goulardi Fest at the Berea Fairgrounds the weekend after.
Yep.
So then our live show the 18th.
Live show the 18th. So you got several weeks of busy time.
Oh yeah, and don't forget, when you watch the show, it's an interactive show too. I mean, we just like what you're doing. We can take questions, we talk to people, we interact with the audience.
It's a show that watches you back.
That's right. Think about that one.
So put some pants on.
Or not.
Well, thank you again, both for interviewing, spending your Tuesday at 7.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
so you guys are
you.
awesome.
That was a blast.
Again, guys, watch and share, and we'll next weekend.
What?
next week, Tuesday at 7.
Oh,
Next
yeah.
week, Tuesday at
What is
7.
next week?
We have, anytime you think you know where we're going, Tuesday at 7 is going to go a different direction. And I will announce that here within the next few days.
I don't even know if I know. If you
Yeah,
told me,
you
I
know,
forgot. Do I? I
but
forgot.
we're not letting the monkey out of the bag.
Oh, I know. That's right. Okay.
All right. Thank you guys for Tuesday 7. Have a great week. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.